Hello, guys. Welcome back to Sing to Her. It's Anji.
And Risa.
And today we're going to be talking about Our Lady of Zeitoun and the apparitions that happened in the Zeitoun, Cairo, Egypt area. But like always, we're going to start off with a quick prayer.
All right. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, thank you for letting us be here today. I hope that everyone who watches this learns one thing from this video. I think this apparition is beautiful. I hope more people learn about this and grow deeper in their knowledge and their hunger for wanting to know more about our Mother and Jesus and everyone else and all our brothers and sisters that are Christian and that are not Christian. I pray for them, their health and their happiness and their well-being. We're also going to do the Our Father and Hail Mary. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
In Jesus Christ's name, let's pray.
Mother of perpetual help.
Pray for us. All right. So, do you want me to say this part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was actually super excited when Anji spoke about this because I first heard about it last year, and she heard about it about 2 months ago. How about this? What if millions of people saw the Blessed Virgin Mary at the same time, including Muslims and non-believers? That is what happened for the apparition of Our Lady of Zeitoun, where all witnesses agreed that it was the Blessed Mother Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. That was Christian, that was not Christian.
It's not just a Catholic thing. Like, this was an event that involved multiple cultures, multiple religions, I mean.
Yeah, beliefs, whether they believe in anything or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Disclaimer, it's not like we're presenting evidence for like why this has to be real. Like, we believe it's real. If you want more thorough evidence onto like why this was actual, like a real supernatural event and it couldn't have been fake or made up, then I'll post some other sources down below on like other people who talk about this in a more apologetic way, like debunking theories and all of that. This is more of just like a run through of the context, the situation, the impact, and all of that.
Yes. So we did our research on a book. Okay, so the name of the book I used for reference is The Marian Apparitions at Zeitoun, an evidential inquiry.
We both read slightly different books. Risa read a book that it was much longer. It's like 300 pages that I didn't really have the time to go through. But I did read the book. It's more of like a little booklet, like 30-page older thing written in 1980. So a little further back, but it was called When Millions Saw Mary. And I'll put the link to that down below also so you can read it for yourself. It's a very quick read. But yeah, we just wanted to combine our information and kind of throw it all together and give a bunch of details about this really cool apparition.
All right, but first we're going to talk about the history and the context. So this apparition happened April 2nd, 1968. Before that happened, there were tensions that were happening in Egypt. So this happened in Zeitoun, which is a suburb of Cairo in Egypt. It is also believed that this is the area where Mary and Joseph were fleeing from, King Herod, and they were fleeing to Egypt. This is not where their final destination was, but it's believed that they probably stopped here along the way. So during this time period, the president of Egypt, his name is Gamal Abdel Nasser. Just disclaimer, I will say many names wrong. I'm not going to repeat it. He had indirectly provoked the already increasing tensions between Muslims and Copts. So here there are Coptic Orthodox. It's Copts and Muslims. So predominantly, Egypt used to be Christian. Over time, it became predominantly Muslim. There are more Muslims than Copts now. Copts. There are more Muslims than Coptics. So the tension between them was increasing due to the 6-Day War that happened June 1967. So that was about a year. It was a year before this happened. So Israel won the war, and this was really a rough thing for the entire country, not only Egypt, but as well as Jordan and Syria. Israel captured Jerusalem, meaning the traditional Coptic pilgrimage that would take place there every Easter had come to a halt. That's where, I don't know if you've seen them on Instagram or anything, where the holy fire is, that people will have on a wood or anything. It doesn't burn you. People put their face to it and it doesn't burn. It's called the holy fire. Yeah. Wow. So they're like, it's the Holy Spirit, So it was closed. They were able to close it because they didn't have control of it anymore. So when Israel won the war, they captured Jerusalem, meaning they took over the Coptic pilgrimage site where they held Easter every year had come to a halt. Israel also took land from Jordan and Syria, displaced over 1 million Palestinians, blocked the Suez Canal, and Egyptian oil was now in the hands of enemies. The Copts were a convenient scapegoat that were blamed for the national catastrophe. As a majority Muslim population searched for ways to understand the defeat, conspiracy theories spread, according to which Copts had various way betrayed Egypt to the Israelis, which did not happen at all. But this was you could say, successful propaganda spread from the Muslim Brotherhood organization. So the president at the time, President Nasser, felt obligated to make a public speech praising the patriotic service of the Coptic soldiers during the war, an attempt to stamp down the anti-Christian propaganda.
So like during this time that the apparitions did happen, there was still a lot of like tension and enmity between the Muslims and the Coptics. Just in that whole area was kind of divided and didn't really like each other for like these political war reasons and religious reasons as well.
As we said earlier, April 2nd, 1968 is when the first apparition happened. We just want to talk about the church really quick, where this happened, because it's important. So the church that this happened at was over the Coptic Orthodox Church of St. Mary. It was built in 1924 and consecrated to her a year later. Construction of the church had earlier been prompted by a religious dream or vision experienced by Ibrahim Pasha, a Copt who had donated the land which the church was built.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of this dream, that's why they think this is the area along the way that this happened, where Mary and Joseph stopped.
Mm-hmm. So basically, this man, Abraham, was a Coptic Christian who in 1920, he was planning to build a hotel on his piece of land that belonged to his family. So before he even was able to start the construction of this hotel on this land, he had a dream. And in this dream, Mary appeared to him in a vision and said, "Don't build the hotel. If you build a church in my name," then she promised a miracle would be performed later on, years later. 5 years later, the church was complete and had been consecrated. Still no miracle. So they were just kind of like waiting it out, seeing like when this promise would be fulfilled.
The precursor apparition. So before the official debut, April 2nd, 1968 apparition, there was a certain individual, and it was not revealed until his deathbed. So he was Coptic Orthodox. He was one of the priests of this church, if not the lead priest of the church. And he had a dream or vision or an encounter with Mary on the front steps of the altar. I'll read it to you in a second, but he had a vision or encounter with her, and she was basically saying, make sure everyone's ready. That's what she said. The message that she gave him is be ready. Ready everyone for what is about to happen. Mm-hmm. He did not reveal this until he died June 1984. He did not reveal this for the purpose of, he did not want it to be about, oh, he got the information first. No, mm-hmm. It's not about that. It was about let everyone else experience. And a lot of other, this is going to, some of the book in here saying that some of the priests knew that this would happen as well. And they wanted to make sure they were not the first ones to talk about this miracle, but specifically the Muslims would be the first people to talk about this miracle, mm-hmm. which is what ended up happening.
It was even more powerful too, mm-hmm. that they were the first to talk about it.
It was reported and well known among the faithful that the Virgin Mary appeared privately to the holy priest of the church, the one where she appeared, Reverend Father Constantine Musa, prior to the public apparition. It was said, on one evening she met him on the steps of the church by the altar. She spoke to him. He fainted and fell to the floor. Father Constantine was a very humble and modest priest, felt the urge not to reveal what was said to him at that visit, at least not until his death, to bring no attention to himself. He died June 1984. Before his death, His Grace Bishop Gregorius, chairman of the People Committee sent by His Holiness Kairos IV to investigate the events at the Zeitoun Church, he asked Father Constantine, what was the message that was given to you? As in, what message did Mary give you? And he told him that her message to him was, be ready. All caps, exclamation mark. That was in the book. And I said, wow, I don't know how he prepared the people, but like everyone, when this happened, blew up. Now this is the first ever public apparition.
The first appearance of these apparitions was the night of April 2nd, 1968. Like we said, what happened was this group of Muslim public transport employees. So some of them were mechanics, security guards, but they worked at the public transit center. It was like a working like garage across the street from this church. There were a couple of people, Abdul Aziz Ali, Farooq Muhammad, Ikut Ali, and Hussein Awad, Mamoun Afi. The main guy we're going to be talking about is Farooq Muhammad Atwa. He was a bus driver for them. But basically, Farooq was coming to this area for a change of shift, and he was with these other mechanic public transport people. He was like in the garage working when he looked toward the church and he saw a woman like in white appearance on the top of the church. And he thought, oh my gosh, like this young lady is suicidal. She's going to jump off the roof. And so he started running toward her. He pointed at her and yelled. He said, lady, don't jump, don't jump. And obviously, like when someone's running across the street screaming, pointing at a lady on the roof, like people are going to come. And so this gathered a crowd around the church. It wasn't until he got like closer to the church that people started realizing, oh, this isn't like a normal woman. They thought it was like a nun because she was veiled. She was in a robe. She was like white. It was like a very youthful, beautiful woman. But the way she was acting was like, it was different. She was kind of like floating around. She was slowly moving. People also say she looked much bigger than like what a real person, maybe like 10 feet tall, not like a real little woman size. The Orthodox roofs are a dome shape. You can't stand on it. It's like a circle. So you're going to be like sliding down it. She wasn't though. She was like floating over it. That made it even a little more weird. So this attracted other people to the area. And then he went to go call like, I think like not a fire squad, but like just like authorities, like officials to come in and help get her off of the roof. Some of the women who started gathering around this crowd identified her as Mary, as this Virgin Mary that, yes, the Muslims do have like a respect and honor for Mary. Like they know of her. She's actually very highly talked about in the Quran. So I don't know if it was like other Muslim women or Coptic women who were in this crowd that pointed her out, but people eventually started identifying her as the Virgin Mary, mother of Jesus that we know. And like maybe you're wondering why they would be so quick to jump to that conclusion. Well, obviously it wasn't appearing as like a normal human body. So like what other like supernatural woman do people know other than Mary?
It's like when we think of Mary, she's like this, or she has her hands open.
Yeah,
so
like,
people just also they knew.
They have images. I think that's what you said before. Is like people already have images and paintings, and like this is very recent. So like obviously a lot of art about Mary had already been like popular and well known. So like people know like her pose and her stance, and this was the same as that. Like it reflected the same image that they knew of Mary to be had.
So another witness at the same time. So these are documented within the book that I was reading and everything. So this is what I'm getting from the book. So those were the first witnesses. The second witnesses were also the women that were there. So after Farooq pointed to the woman and the crowd started to grow and look at what is happening here, that same night, another witness of the same apparition at the same time Farooq was there pointing at Mary on the roof, shared what they saw. Tuesday night, April 2nd, 1968 at 8:30 p.m. when some of the workmen at the garage that belonged to the public transportation system, they were waiting at the gate per usual, changing shifts for the night. But there were also some women crossing the street. All of a sudden, there appeared an unusual movement in the middle of the church towards the cross. The movement attracted the attention of the women and two garage workmen who were enjoying a cup of tea at the garage. The scene appearing in the darkness seemed to be of a young lady in white, kneeling by the cross at the top of the dome. This scene, most unusual because the dome was round and smooth, very sloping surface, held the men and the women, pedestrians, as though they were nailed in their places. As they pointed to the dome, one of the workmen gave out a cry, warning the person not to jump down. Since he could not see her face, he thought the girl was trying to commit suicide. He spoke to the man next to him, and everyone started to whisper. Then these whispers became warning shouts. The lady stood up, and they all saw her dressed as if in a bright white light, in a similar view associated with the Virgin Mary. One of the ladies gave out a long cry. I might get this wrong. Zacharuta, which is a cry of joy, involuntary when she cried out. She then cried out, Serena Mariam, which means Our Lady Mary. The woman began pleading for the lady's blessing.
Okay, so it kind of seems like because it says involuntary, identifies Mary.
Yeah, it's like you just know.
Yeah, like she just kind of knew, or like this idea of Mary, like Mary wanted to be identified, and this idea was planted in these people's mouths. Because I did read other things in the book that I read about how people knew it just was her by her aura, and it kind of just like appeared in their minds that oh, they just identified who this was based on like the feeling that they had. Like they can't describe it. It's like
she's my mother.
It's like an indescribable feeling. So that is cool of a detail. Okay, so another thing about how she was apparitioning to people was her silent manner. So whenever she appeared in an apparition on the rooftop of this Orthodox church, which is over many, many times, I think people said at least over 1,000 times this happened. Sometimes it would be over a couple minutes. Sometimes she was appearing for hours. It was all at random points, but I think it was always at night.
Yes.
And it was sort of random. I did read that she would appear more often and for longer on special days or like feast days, which is pretty cool. But it was really important that like her manner, whenever she appeared, she was silent. She never spoke to these people. No one ever claimed that they heard her speak, which is really interesting because you could think like, oh, like someone might want to pretend that they were more special than somebody else and be like, oh, I heard her. But we have no witnesses saying that she spoke to them personally, at least when she was apparitioning on the roof. Now, we do have some witnesses saying that outside of the rooftop apparitions, they did see her in visions, like within their own home. So for example, there was a man who was a neighbor of the church, and basically like as these apparitions kept happening, thousands of people were flocking around the church, which you can imagine could get really loud and annoying. And keep in mind, this man was also Muslim, so he was very resistant to believing in these apparitions in the first place. He would call the police on these people coming near his property, and he would even throw stones at them because they were just like piss him off, and he was just trying to like get them out of his lawn. Clearly like extremely frustrated by these people calling the police on them and everything to get them arrested. But basically Mary appeared to him in a vision and asked him why he was behaving like this. Like, why are you throwing stones at people who just want to come see me, you know? And then she asked him to paint a cross. Actually, in the book I read, it said she commanded him to paint a cross on his house. And he did. Despite still being a practicing Muslim, he painted 40 white crosses all around his house. And he believed in the apparitions. He ended up like actually not confirming, but admitting that they were true and believing in them because he had this like one-on-one vision with her.
The reason why it's such a big deal is because, I mean, Muslims do not believe the crucifixion happened. So that's also why it was a big deal when everyone was watching her in the middle of the night, because she would only come at night. The reason why people knew this was also legit, a lot of people try to debunk it and say it's mass hallucination, a bunch of BS. They cut all the lights in the area. At least a 5-mile radius, no lights that they had. The government cut it because they wanted to make sure like this is real.
Yes.
And it was real.
Yeah. This drew, like, because the crowds were so big, a lot of nights even 250,000 people. I'm like thinking that it's much bigger than 25,000. 250,000 people on some really big nights were gathered around the church. And like, this is a small like street area. Like, people could not move. Witnesses were like, they were shoulder to shoulder with people. You had to like shimmy your way to get a good view. So much to the point that they shut down the roads in that area. The Egyptian government got involved with this and investigated. They did like light investigations to make sure people weren't trying to project something onto the roof. Yeah, they did cut the power from like a 5 to 10 mile radius to make sure that if there was a light, it had to have been like a supernatural event, which is pretty crazy because it's like the whole government gets in on this. And we have newspaper copies. A lot of them are in Arabic because obviously it's in Egypt, so it's kind of hard for us to translate, of the Egyptian government and press getting involved and investigating this because it was such a huge event at this time and in this area that a lot of streets, everything was being shut down because of it to be investigated.
So the reason why it was a big deal for that man to paint the 40 crosses on his door is because they don't believe in the crucifixion. So that's also why it was a big deal. When Mary was on top of the dome, she would also bow to the cross. I don't know necessarily if it is on her knees, but it would say that she would bow down to the cross, which is significant because everyone knows what the cross is, whether you're Christian or not. It's a huge symbolic thing. You just know Christians believe that Jesus died on the cross. So that's why it was a very big deal. And he continued to practice as a Muslim, but he did validate that. I mean, that was real because no longer did he throw stones, and he had 40 large white crosses painted in and outside of his house.
Another thing that people saw when Mary was apparitioning on the domes of the church was there were doves that would sometimes accompany her. And sometimes people would also just see the doves or flashes of light, even if she was not there. But what everybody agreed on was that these doves, and I'll put pictures up, they would not flap their wings. It wasn't like they were real birds that people were like putting a flashlight on and like illuminating. They were just floating around like they weren't like real physical doves. They were simply like floating very swiftly. People said it was very swift. They were emitting light. They were lit up on all sides. It wasn't just like a projection or a poster or whatever image. They would sometimes also be in a cross formation. So one witness was talking about how this time Mary appeared and then doves flashed and appeared before her in the form of a cross above her, and they began to just like float around and not flap their wings, but they would just
like drums.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, it sounds crazy. Formations of doves would just all move together. People would say that they would appear in a formation, and then that's how they would all move together. They wouldn't just like scatter around.
They saw different images. It wasn't just Mary. Sometimes it was her holding baby Jesus. Some said that she was with St. Joseph. Other ones said that she was holding an olive branch, or she was, you could say, making the motion of blessing the audience and the visitors that are there.
In a lot of these different instances, obviously this happens across thousands of different minute to hour long apparitions. So what we're saying is not contradictory of, oh, was she holding baby Jesus or an olive branch? She was both, like just on two separate occasions.
All of the above, yeah.
Yeah.
Different day, different object.
It's not like two people were looking at her at the same time. One person was seeing olive branch, one was seeing baby Jesus, people were seeing doves. No, like if people were looking at her, they were seeing the same thing. It was just on different occasions, different things were happening. Another weird thing is on some occasions, people saw like a billowing cloud of bright red smoke coming from some of the church domes, and they just didn't know where this was coming from because there was no like top of the dome where people could light up smoke from the inside. There was nothing, no one on the building. It was just red, like a pillar of red smoke just coming up, and it would smell of incense. And another thing people said was that whenever Mary appeared, sometimes they would smell roses, which is so cool because it's also consistent with other Marian apparitions that we know of, that whenever she appeared, people would have the scent of roses in the air. So I'm going to read an excerpt on this book about the billows of smoke because I think it's kind of just like a crazy phenomenon that happened. I quote, "There's also the phenomenon of the incense. The smoke of incense, very bright, comes out of the large dome in unbelievable quantities. The cloud goes up for 10 or 20 meters or more. It is dark red. There is no other cloud in the sky but the one over the dome. Then it takes the form of St. Mary as stars appear and disappear over the church." That's an excerpt from Our Lady Returns to Egypt by Jeremy Palmer from 1969. So that was written a year after this apparition. So it's not like their memory is foggy. I'm sure it wouldn't be foggy
Very clear
because it's like
apparitions
you
are
would
still
remember that
happening at that time. Yeah,
very recent. And this book was written in 1980, so it's not it's very recent after all of these events, which is very cool.
The reason why this is also such a big deal, within 1 month, not even a month, but the Coptic Orthodox Church redeemed the divinely inspired nature of the Zeitoun apparitions as legit, meaning they're saying this is real. Like in the Catholic Church, when they want to deem this miracle that happened, a nun that went to Lourdes that was paralyzed, put the water on herself and said, Lord, Mother Mary, if you want me to do your will and help people, help me be able to walk, something like that. And she walked away. She was no longer paralyzed. She'd been paralyzed for a very, very long time. That is clearly a miracle. It took the church 10 years to deem that as a miracle because so much research, fact checking, behind the scene progress goes on to make sure that this is real. Because if they mess up, it's a bad look.
Yeah.
Not even a month. And they were like, this is it. This is real. And the reason why this is also such a big deal is because every other Marian apparition that I know of, or that we have even briefly spoken about on here, let's talk about Fatima, the 3 children. The miracle of the sun is known as like one of the biggest deals. I mean, it is sure a big deal. I don't want to shade it, but during the miracle of the sun, everyone saw the sun moving around in different ways, but they didn't see Mary. Thousands of people were there. They didn't see Mary. They saw the miracle of the sun moving around. They were soaking wet, and then after the miracle, they were dry. Mm-hmm. And there was 3 children that all couldn't hear and see Mary. It was like one child could see Mary, the other one could hear and see Mary, the other one could just hear her. This apparition was such a big deal. It happened for 3 years. Millions of people saw her. And when the clergy of the Roman Catholic Church, as well as the Coptic Church, were told, go study, let me know what you see, they all saw her. They all documented their experience and what they saw as well as what they heard, because everyone else, what they were seeing, everyone in the audience, the visitors saw as well. It was such a big deal. So specifically, these are the people that are listed. Father Georgis Mata, Father Hannah Abdel Meshi, and then the Pope's private secretary, Father Benjamin Camel. And then finally, you could say one of the right-hand man of the patriarch of the Coptic Church was Bishop Athanasius of Beni Suef.
We're going to talk about the miracles now, which there are so many miracles that happen during this time. Because keep in mind, this happened over the course of, it was 2.5 years, but I'm going to say like 3 years just to encompass like 1968 to 1971. So over the course of these 3 years, so many miracles happen. Like if you want more information, or you're just curious about it, or you want to look more into it, of miracles happening, like scientific, medically proved miracles, I will put more resources on those down below. But the first miracle that happened associated with this operation, if you go back to what we were talking about before, Farouk, the first person to notice Mary and point at her, this is his miracle. This is his story, which is a huge deal that he was Muslim, because she didn't just heal Christians. It was, I think there were Jews there too, Protestants, the Coptics, Muslims, even non-believers had miraculous cures, healings happen to them. Backtracking to when he pointed at her and yelled, "Lady, don't jump, don't jump." That finger that he used to point at her, it was bandaged up because it had gangrene, and he was going to get it amputated the next day. He already had the appointment. So he went into his doctor's appointment the next day. The doctor undid the bandage, and when he went to look at the finger, it was healed. There was no gangrene. They didn't have to amputate it. It was just completely healed. And the doctor was so confused because he was like, we were literally just about to cut your finger off. Like, what happened to the gangrene? Like, and that's a serious, serious infection. Like, it is painful. It stings. Your flesh is just like rotting off. Probably could see bone. He didn't even know. He just like
found out
when the doctor found out. Cool, you don't have to cut my finger off. Confirmed medical scientific miracle that it was gangrenous before. He pointed at her, healed. So along these sets of miracles that happened like that, a lot of them, some of them were very instantaneous, like it just happened when they saw her, when they were seeing the apparition. Some of them happened like a day later. Some of them happened when they went back to their homes. Some happened like hours later. So it's not all instantaneous, but all of these happened after they had seen the apparition and they had a sickness prior to seeing her. Another reason why this got so big was because after the appointment, a lot of news media covered his story and how he was Muslim and he saw Mary and his finger got healed. And so after that day, so many people flocked to this church. It got more crowds. Like, yes, people were already crowding there, but it got even much more big to like such a grander scale because of his story getting out and about how he was healed as a Muslim. Like, it wasn't just this Christian Mary, whatever. Like, she was there for everybody in that area. It wasn't strict to the Christian community. And this is also thanks to the media coverage. This also created a very remarkably positive reaction from Egypt's Muslim population because of his sighting and miraculous healing. I don't think they would have had such a good of reaction if the first of events, the first sightings and miracles happened to Christian people. So I think that it was done on purpose. I do want to go through a couple of other like pretty cool miracles, specifically ones that I read in the booklet I read, but there's, like I said, so much more that you can look into later. All right. So basically, because of a lot of these miracles, a lot of sick people were brought to the church and they were housed inside of the church. And Pope Krylios VI set up a commission of doctors and professors to go to this area and verify the cures, because they didn't just want to believe, oh, my arm was healed. Oh, I had an autoimmune disease and I was healed. No, they wanted to actually verify and record them and get medical information on it. And there was a professor, his name is Professor Shafiq Abdel-Malik. He led this commission. So one of the stories is this man, Sami Abd el-Malik. He was 49 years old. He had bladder cancer. This is the doctor who treated him, Dr. Aziz Fam. He was a professor of urology at Cairo University. He previously operated on him before with his bladder cancer, but his cancer had reoccurred and it was the size of a lemon. So they deemed it inoperable. It was incurable. Sammy was able to go to this apparition site. He pressed into the crowds. He was having a lot of pain at the time because you have a lemon-sized tumor in your bladder. Like, this is not fun, but he made his way to go see this apparition. And at the moment that he saw the apparition, he said, I quote, all pain and symptoms of the disease vanished. He got a full medical exam afterward, and they deemed it a complete cure. It was just gone. He was completely healthy, normal.
His doctor was also shocked. He was like, what did you do? Where did you go?
That's the thing too, is like, I'm going to say all the doctors' names. I know we're going to botch them and maybe it's like just a lot of names to think of, but we really want you to know that like these medical doctors were also stunned and these real people, real names were involved. In the book I was reading, they were also listing the street names that these people who are cured lived on. They're like, oh, this guy, 49, he lived on this street. And this was a doctor that, like, so much information and records to just prove that, guys, like, this is so well documented that these happen. And it was such a big deal. This one woman, she was Muslim. Her name was Fatima Zahirida, age 56. She had thyroid gland disease. She was too ill to even go make the journey to see this apparition. So her husband went for her. He really wanted her to go. He really wanted her to have a cure. So he went to the apparition. He saw it and he begged Mary for recovery for his wife. You know, the apparitions happened during the course of the night. So he got home. It was like early morning, like 5, 6 a.m. When he got home, he found his wife completely cured. She was not ill anymore. She said that she had a dream of beings that looked like nuns dressed in white. I don't know if they were angels. I don't know if it was like Mary appearing multiple times. Yeah. She was like these people that looked like nuns dressed in white, woke her up at 4 a.m. and she was healed. And they're like, what happened? The doctor that confirmed this was Dr. Ahmed Farouk at the government Manual Hospital in Cairo. He confirmed this miraculous healing. Another one, I'm just going to go through 2 more that I think are really cool. Another Muslim, Miss Maria Muhammad, age 20, she had nerve shocks that happened to her, which caused her to lose her sight in her speech, so she couldn't talk or see. But her brothers brought her to this operation location, and when her brothers brought her there, they were praying for a cure. They were just praying, and then suddenly, she didn't have her sight in her speech, mind you. So she like suddenly shouted, "I see the apparition of the Blessed Virgin," and immediately she regained her sight. So she saw it, and then she was able to speak and shout, and she was completely cured of her sight and speech. It was just crazy. That was June 1968. So, and then the last one I do want to say was insane. Miss Mahood Sakuri Ibrahim, age 45. Her husband was the controller of the roads and bridges department in the Egyptian government. She was paralyzed. On the 30th of April, 1968, she was brought to Zeitoun in her wheelchair because she was completely paralyzed. They thought hopefully a miracle would happen there. Nothing happened. She came back on the 13th of May on the feast of Our Lady of Fatima. The Virgin appeared to her, and she felt a strange, tingling, like trembling sensation in her limbs. Wasn't healed yet. She watched Mary in this apparition on the 13th of May. Mary was walking on the domes for about an hour, kind of pacing back and forth, doing her thing. When dawn came, Miss Mahmoud was suddenly conscious, and she got out of her wheelchair and then walked to her husband's car. The medical commission examined her and found her in perfect health. I'm like, how crazy is that? I'm paralyzed. I'm sitting there, and like, I see Mary. I'm watching her walk around, and then I'm like, I'm just going to go get up to my husband's car. Like, what? And then the medical examiners confirmed it. And all these names are Muslim names, like Mary was healing so many people. And these are like insane miracles. Like people's lives are ruined. My arm's broken. I'm going to die of bladder cancer. I'm paralyzed. And then like just full health recoveries. It's crazy.
It really caused the doctors, especially the secular ones that were not religious at all, to question, how is this even possible? And one of the doctors had their own problem. William, yes. Yeah, ex-director of that unit. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, do that one.
All right. So one of the doctors, which is Dr. William Nasheed Zaki, was the ex-director of Masara unit of the medical treatment. He had been suffering greatly for 13 years of a hernia, which he had been forced to wear a medical belt. He says in his report that he despaired of the medical cure, as in he was like, this is it, So on the night of May of the 30th, he went to the church of Zeitoun. He says, just before dawn, I saw the Blessed Virgin. She was moving toward the cross. Then she stretched out her right hand to bless us. I prayed for a miraculous cure. Through her intercession, when I reached home, no pain of any sort was bothering me. The hernia had been absolutely cured.
Yeah.
A doctor.
Insane.
He knows that's a miracle. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
13 years suffering. Then she raised her hand up as a blessing. Instant cures. Come on.
Oh, come on. Come on.
And actually, with that one that you told earlier with her, I want to say her name is Fatima, but it's not. But when the nuns were doing the operation on her, it said for me as well that the doctor found nothing. He asked her to come back the following Saturday, but the illness had gone. When she came home, she saw the nuns again and smelled the scent of incense in her room during the night. Then that night, the Virgin appeared to her and said, "Congratulations." I know, right?
What?
And then so does Fatima. Fatima asked to meet Pope Cyril the Sixth to tell him about the miracle. Bam. Yeah.
Damn.
She said, "Congratulations."
This is crazy.
Goes back to heaven. Like,
thank you, Mary. Thank you. If you want to hear about more miracles, you can look at the book Our Lady Returns to Egypt by Father Jerome Palmer.
Yes.
A lot about it.
Yes. That's also where these references are coming from as well.
Yeah. Another huge thing about this event was that this is the first time Muslims and Christians prayed together in large numbers. Like, this has never happened before. Never happened in the East or West. These people praying together, because when people would come to this church, it's just like crowds, thousands of people. Like, I'll put pictures up, shoulder to shoulder people, and they're just praying. Like, the Muslims will have their prayer mats laid out. People would have like all their prayer tools, whatever. Like, Christians, Muslims, all like Protestants too, all together simultaneously praying, and they would pray in different languages. People would say they were praying in Greek, they were praying in Arabic, all at the same time. And it's just some of them like overlapped. I think some of them were like Kyrie eleison, God, Lord have mercy. You know, everybody was saying that, which is just nuts because like you don't have like
that doesn't happen.
Separate religions praying at the same time, like to the same God at the same time. Yeah.
Asking for help.
So crazy. And here's another thing that I know, like we said, this is not just to convince people of the reality of this apparition or to prove the supernatural event, because honestly, for those who don't want to believe, no proof is enough, which is true. But a lot of the witnesses, they are still alive today, or their sons and daughters are. Because think about it, this happened in 1968. That's the year my mom was born. So like if you have a grandparent who was Coptic and in the area in Egypt, chances are they saw it. And either that or they have a family member who did. So a lot of people will say like, this has a lot more evidence than the resurrection. Because we literally have alive witnesses who saw the supernatural event and attest to it. Hundreds of thousands of people across different religions saw this event. So if you go to Coptic churches, still in Egypt today, or even in the US, a lot of people left Cairo and have moved to the US by now. If you go there, people will say like, oh, you can look for the old Coptic Christians and in these churches, and they will either say, yeah, let me tell you my story of, you know, when I saw, and or they'll say, oh, my family member, my aunt, uncle, dad, whatever, they were there and they saw. So we have people that you can go to. If you want to go, you can go.
You should
just
ask,
look for these people, because that's what people do when they want to tell you how real an event was. They say, the people are alive today, go look for them. You don't say that. You don't say, go find this person, we have their name, go look at these doctors, they have medical reports, if it was fake. Because if it was fake, like these hundreds of thousands of people aren't going to be able to come up with the same story across different languages, different religions, different areas. Like, I got really excited there for a second. I was good. Okay, so one of the reporters, Miss Pearl Zaki, she was a reporter from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and she went to go basically write a journalist piece on this area and see for herself and come back and write about it. Because you hear about all this, you know, commotion and you want to know what's going on. I think there was another English reporter from the New York Times who also went and interviewed bishops and wrote about that. But very few English-speaking newspapers are had on this event, just because a lot of it was very just consolidated to the Arabic reporters in that area. But basically, Mrs. Zaki, she was very doubtful in the beginning. She did see apparitions. She did end up coming to believe. This is what she said after a lot of days of like waiting to see stuff and eventually actually coming to believe. So I'm going to read this excerpt from When Marian Saw Mary, which is what I read. Later, the author asked Miss Zaki for her personal reaction on having seen the Mother of God. It felt that her reply would give an insight to the reactions of all those thousands of others who shared the same sublime experience. She answered as follows. The figure of our Virgin Mother was all in light. There is no way I can possibly describe what I saw and how I felt. I somehow felt I was drawn to her, but by no means singled out in the crowd. Yet, I think each person present, as I talked with them and understood, felt alone with her and drawn completely to her. It was an experience that enveloped me and then left me completely empty. Being human, I can never justify or explain its beauty in words or actions, but only attempt to utter praises to God for the rest of my life, if he wills it.
Wow. That's serious.
And she's like, I can't even describe it. I can only try to like thank God the rest of my life. Like, this is crazy. I can't even. Which I think is a cool point too, because I read with other witnesses, they were saying that they felt very drawn to her, very like connected just to her, like they were the only person there. And each person felt that way, like they were kind of disembodied. It was just like a supernatural feeling, you could say, because it was. But she didn't just focus on one person. They would never be like, oh, Mary is just pointing and looking and blessing this one person. No, they all felt that she was blessing each individual person, like themselves, but they knew that, oh, she was there for everybody. Like they weren't singled out, but they did feel seen
Mhm.
personally by her, which is really cool.
In summary of everything that happened, so Our Lady of Zeitoun, her apparition happened April 2nd, 1968. I believe her feast day is also now April 2nd every year, especially celebrated within the Coptic Church. We can also celebrate it. Everyone
Mhm.
is allowed to celebrate it, but they heavily celebrate it.
Mhm.
So this year was the 58th year anniversary of this apparition. Over 1 million people saw her.
Mhm.
This apparition lasted for 3 years. It wasn't 3 years consistently, it was at night.
Mhm.
Every religion, I'm assuming, that wanted to come see her. People that didn't see her would stay there and wait until they see her. There were numerous amounts of miracles that happened to Christians and non-Christians. The book that I read came out in 2024, and he actually encourages, I'm not doing this, he encourages someone to pick up the writings and understand and translate the readings from the other witnesses in Arabic, because he says he doesn't speak Arabic, so he doesn't know it. But he said hopefully someone could take this a step further
Yeah.
and, go into the theology of why this happened, and when and what everything means. So Mary was on top of the dome, and it was her, or it was the doves, or one large dove people said they saw as well, which I'm like, that's the Holy Spirit. Um, as well as her carrying baby Jesus, an olive branch, or St. Joseph being next to her. Over this time, many people began to question, like, is this real? I'm not saying everyone converted or anything. For example, that Muslim man stayed Muslim, but he did as Mother Mary commanded, which is paint those crosses.
Mhm.
And I didn't say this earlier. I'm just going to say it really quick. There was also other people that were Protestant, and they had their own beliefs about, they respected Mother Mary, but they didn't really think that any miracle could be performed through her. These actions happen because God allows it, not because Mary's God, which is not, the intercession of Jesus through Mary.
Yeah.
So that's when
100%.
he even said as well, like, I changed my mind. Like, I had to actually rethink my faith and how I was thinking things. But it really made him think about the importance of that, where, I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So if you're ever in town, visit the Coptic Orthodox Church of St. Mary.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for watching. I know you learned one thing,
Yeah.
okay? I
Mission
know you did not know
accomplished.
all this. Yeah, unless you're practicing Coptic and your mom was there or something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if you know anyone who actually did witness it, reach out.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want
Yeah.
to talk to them. And if you know anyone like who speaks Arabic, I'll put some resources down below. But if you know Arabic, go read the newspapers. I really wish I could read Arabic, because there are so many like newspapers and documents and like interviews of people who were speaking Arabic, who are talking about their experience, and you just can't understand them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I'm sure their stories are really awesome, and I would love for someone to translate it too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Have a blessed whatever time zone you're in, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.